Listen, despite what gurus are telling you, 9 out of 10 AI services sold to local businesses are shut off within 60 days. Why is that? It's because they actually lose money on them. The popular AI agency model is built on a fundamental misunderstanding of what AI solutions can do for small businesses. I've gone through 30 or 40 of these, and every single time it's caused friction between me and the customer. So today I'm going to reveal why that is and what you should be doing instead of focusing on local businesses. Let's jump in. So if that wasn't enough, we then have the lead generation crisis. And this is probably the biggest pitfall when it comes down to selling AI to small local businesses, right? Targeting local businesses instantly limits you in terms of the capabilities to be able to go out there and generate new business. Think about it from a perspective of location and radius of what they're willing to target. I used the plumber example a moment ago. Now, when you're looking at every plumber that's in Little Rock and you're trying to generate business for that customer, going after corporations for their plumbing techniques, holiday parks, whatever it might be that plumber focuses on, you will try and you would export a list of leads. How many leads would you get? I don't know. Let's say you got 10,000 leads. Let's say you got 10,000 leads. After you've shot through all of those 10,000 leads with an average response rate and book calls, you're going to be in a major situation because you no longer have the ability to be able to go and cold outreach anymore. So it means that you have to go to new cities instead, which is a major problem. Now, the total addressable market is much smaller than if you were targeting a nationwide digital company, SaaS companies, etc., which is why you should focus on that and not small businesses. Searching for every plumber in a mid-sized city might give you a list of only 200 to 300 people. So, I said 10,000. It could even be lower than that. You could be talking about hundreds of people. Where does your value come in? Even if you have a high percentage conversion rate off of those people, then what? So it looks good initially, and this is why you lose them before 60 days. Because even if you get calls start to be booked and they start to believe, you hit over the limit, then you're done. Having such a small audience makes it impossible to properly test or improve marketing strategies. I know this very well from PPC because when you're dealing with localized markets, they have limited conversion volume. The Google algorithm works off of AI, so the more conversions you feed it, the more it knows about your target market. It's exactly the same issue that you face here when you sell AI automations to businesses. Because of that small scale, your acquisition cost per lead goes through the roof, right? And that is where you're going to become expensive for the business. Not only do you have your retainer, but you also have the issue of the cost per lead being high. Online businesses are easier to find and contact at scale with cold email and LinkedIn. Not only that, they are more used to and accustomed to the approach of that. So they are professionals. As long as you are a professional, right, and you have background and credibility, even if you don't, it's okay. But as long as you approach them as if you do, then you'll instantly just click. I've got loads of people who I associate with in the industries, different industries, who are professionals, and they respect me because of my craft, not because they use my service. And it's the same thing. Digital businesses are more likely to be open to you reaching out to them digitally. Just makes complete sense, right? It's common for local lead lists or databases to have missing or old information. Personalizing your approach for each local business, it's too time consuming to be scalable. You simply just can't do it. It's impossible. How are you going to do that? Experiments that would take, cold email tests. I have over 200 cold email inboxes, right? I get my answers within 2 days, 3 days maybe. Let's say 4. If you're giving it a whirl. Give it 4 days, you've got poor response rates, your copy's not good enough, you merge it out. If you have a list of 10,000 people, and that is really high, I'm going really high here to give you a chance to show why it's such a bad idea. Because really, you're only going to have 1,000 if you're lucky. But you look at that and you say 10,000. You shoot out those emails. Let's say they've got 10 inboxes at 30 a day. You shoot out those 900 emails. Those 300 emails in one day. In 3 days, you've got your first rollout. Within a week, you've done all of your list. You've burnt your entire list. Experiments that take that long are not only done over a significantly prolonged period of time from an AI perspective, like it's going to take you forever to get an answer if you have such a limited pool and you have to slow down your processes. And not only that, the data that comes back is so small that you can't do anything with it anyway. You might hit home runs on the first 5 cold emails you send, get answers and responses. Does it mean that the cold email copy's killer? No. It just means that you've struck it rich because you don't have enough data. It's not statistical. The data isn't statistically factual enough, which is a problem. So look at it like this. Regional limitations. They are restricted. Regional limitations. They are restricted. They have restricted prospect volume. Straight away, red flag. They have testing bottlenecks. You're not going to be able to do what you do best efficiently. So massive red flag. And customer acquisition cost tends to be significantly higher than for other businesses in other areas, not just digital, but like if they can offer a global service, something that is and they have regional managers and stuff like that, then you've got a poor ROI. What does that lead to? Huge scaling challenges, stagnant business expansion, lowered client satisfaction with a big star next to it, and low retention, so you'll lose them. But this is where you should be focused. This is what you don't need. Everybody out there, I know the hustle better than anybody else. I know the hustle better than anybody else on planet Earth. I had nothing. I literally had nothing. My mum used to leave me £5 on the kitchen table. I'm going to do a reveal all podcast soon. But my mum used to leave me £5 on the table. I would walk my daughter up to an arcade on the beach. I would sit there, I would buy her the $1.99 meal, I would give her £3 for the 2p machines, and she used to get upset when we had to leave because she wanted to continue playing. I didn't have any money in order to do so. I was downbeat, I didn't leave the house for 6 months, I had mental health issues at the time, and they're still with me today, to be fair, but they're significantly improved. Nobody knows the hustle better than me, but there's one thing that I tell you now, is that the biggest and fastest way for you to burn out is to onboard clients where you already know they're going to have a low client satisfaction. Do not do it. Just walk away. Sometimes the money is not worth it. And that's hard to say coming from a hustler because I leave no stone unturned, but I know when to say no. And it's really important that you follow that trend. Example scenario, I think I mentioned Little Rock, but like you identify a HVAC business in Little Rock, that's 200 total prospects, you execute all the outreach, you get 12 replies, 4 sales calls, 1 client. What happens then? Well, a new city's required. Sorry, Michael, we can only travel X amount of miles from our radius for this service. Well, then what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You hit the list again. All right, hit the list again, and then everybody inside of Little Rock hates you as the HVAC company. You get bad reviews because you're spamming everyone. Like, what good comes of it? You can't do it. It doesn't matter. Now, one of the biggest problems that you face, right, is how value is seen from a small business. Small businesses look at the price tag, right? They look at the price tag, missing the bigger picture of what is actually being implemented. So instead of looking at the fact that you can automate their cold outreach solutions, lead generation, generate them more revenue, or something that is more applicable, let's say it's data management, but they don't have enough data for those solutions really anyway, and it'd be a one-off gig. The lens that a small business owner looks through is always down to the pound. It's never anything else. It's very difficult to find a small business owner that wants to become a huge, large corporation. They don't exist. And that is where you're going to fall down when it comes down to how value perception is seen. Customers and community, like loyalty, trust, growth, and reputation, not only are they important, they are at risk if you take the approach of the small business model. Because you're going to become a business that everybody locally thinks that these guys just do not stop spam SMSing me. They don't stop spam emailing me. It's the same message every time. They try me every month. It's like I'm sick of hearing about them. You would be the last person that they came to. But so what they don't see, and the reason that this image is on the screen, is that, like, from a customers and community lens and the way that they're looking at you, it's like loyalty, trust, true value, growth, and reputation are what's key. Don't go and damage a small business's reputation by trying to pump out to a list of 1,500 businesses that you've got. Like, because the business owner is only looking at how much you're costing, and the true impact that you're going to have is actually going to be negative ROI in terms of their reputation. It's going to be very difficult for them to get back. And that's an ethical thing, not just a sales thing. Like, I get it. We're all here to try and make money, but, you know. Local entrepreneurs often have a limited grasp of AI and automation. That will change in coming years, but so will the solutions to these problems. That's why we're going to become architects. We're going to become architects of AI, not I'm going to build you this flow because it's amazing. You'll notice in my content there's been less of the N8N builds. I'm not going to stop them, but there's less of the N8N builds because I'm focusing in on specific areas that I know that I've already done previously that I can piece into effectively micro SaaS and sell it. And that is because the way that the future is going is that there's going to be a solution for everything. And I'll tell you exactly where it's going to come from. It's going to come from Google themselves. They're going to make something so powerful that means that businesses can go inside of there and build end-to-end marketing funnels with just simple prompts. So a substantial part of your sales conversation ends up being educational rather than focused and selling the core value. I covered why that was a major problem. Integrating modern digital tools into local businesses' workflows can be challenging as many don't utilize them. Trust me, I am a man, right, who has handled regularly over 7 figures of ad spend for businesses across Google Ads and Meta, right? I know when I speak to a small business, I don't have to educate them on my techniques and theory. They know what the techniques and theories are when they're a large company. When they are a small business, however, that's where I'm in a position, I'm trying to explain the value of lead generation. That's where I was. When I was hustling and starting, that's where I was. But there is a difference between AI and PPC, and that is that it's based off of search volume, and what they spend is directly related to the amount of people that are searching in the area, whereas we're just trying to like blast 1,000 people. So that's what's going on there. That's not great. Conversely, digital business owners already familiar with tools, Zapier, CRMs, they probably have automation in their CRMs already. It might be basic, but they do. They know about AI, they research it in themselves because they don't want to be dinosauric in terms of their approach. And they can quickly recognize your value proposition. They quickly know what problems you're going to solve. Speed to lead being the big one. Stick with me on that, trust me. Literally, go and watch the speed to lead video and start building it because it's the number one way. A significant portion of calls, like 30 plus minutes, is spent just clarifying foundational concepts. You're literally just trying to tell them why this is a good idea. This is it. And then they start asking questions about copywriting. Will we have input? How do you know what to say? How brand ethos, all of these things. Small businesses, they think that they're really important. They're not, mate. Just literally go out there and bomb it. I know how to write a cold email. When the underlying technology isn't understood, clients tend to fixate on disproportionately of the cost. And time invested in education doesn't scale efficiently and seldomly yields return because they'll churn within 60 days anyway. So all that time you spent is negative ROI for you, never mind about the business. Skepticism. So that's just, I don't even want to cover skepticism in any depth because I really dislike it. When I've been engaged by a business, it's because you trust me. And believe me, I'm not going to sit here and say every project has been perfect that I've ever worked on because I would be lying. Most people wouldn't admit this. But 98% of the projects that I work on scale, right? 98%, a very, very high number. So if 9.5, let's say, out of 10 scale properly, I shouldn't be under huge scrutiny. You can see my track record. There was a reason you onboarded, the audit, the explanation, whatever. There was a reason you came on board. But when you work with a small business, you're going to be under constant scrutiny. Like literally from day one, they're going to be expecting X and Y. Why aren't they doing it? Why aren't we doing it this way, the way that this business is doing it, etc. Oh, I've just seen this. Happens all the time. Becomes a repetitive, extremely draining and frustrating task, and it makes you dislike the client. which is not something you want. So, like for instance, an HVAC business owner unfamiliar with CRMs needs convincing on both CRM benefits and automation advantages. So, we're going to have a discussion around limited tech literacy, education versus selling. We want to be selling, we don't want to be educating, right? They're cost focused, not value focused. They have an extended sales cycle. You spend the majority of your time on your sales calls with these businesses trying to explain to them why they need it, instead of looking at how it would be applied into their company and what they can expect. That is a major problem. That is a massive problem and a huge downfall when it comes to selling to local businesses and why you should avoid it. Because by the time you've educated 7 individual small businesses to get one to take you on that's then going to churn in 60 days, by the time you've done that, you could have onboarded 2 digital businesses that would have paid you more, that would have been more open to your ideas and suggestions and speak your language, if you like. So that's where the limited tech literacy comes in. Tool integration difficulties. They don't have any clue how to use individual softwares and tools and online digital things. Just anything digital they don't use. Even mobiles, apps, WhatsApp. Like, you trust me, you can run into some real crazy things. Lowered client satisfaction. Again, you don't want that. Any client who works with me, I tell them straight away from the get-go. Like, if there's anything that's holding you back from working with me, don't work with me. I say it all of the time. Is it part of sales? Yes. But is it true? 1000%. Unless you're 100% convinced by me, don't use me, seriously. Like, I don't need your money, and I don't want to dissatisfy you as a client. Find somebody who's better fitted to you, which they won't be able to find. But the point is that, like, I don't want to work with them if they're going to be in that mindset from the get-go. So this is a perfect example of the way that 2 individual sales conversations would go. The first one is the conversation with the HVAC company. So you get the conversation started, allocate 15 minutes to define a CRM. You allocate 10 minutes to explain the automation principles, deal stages, etc. Allocate 15 minutes to justify superiority over manual methods, why their plumbers shouldn't be adding their jobs to their CRM system, to their Monday.com or to their HubSpot when they finish, and why they should just have this connection that they do through a form that then goes through whatever. 10 minutes focused on the actual solution. So by this point, they're bored. They're ready for the next meeting. They're not engaged anymore. Owner concentrates solely on costs straight away. Always, you can tell straight away when they start mentioning costs, how much are you going to cost you, especially the more background you have. They expect you to be expensive, so they become focused on the cost before they actually understood the value, which is an issue. Follow-up discussions necessary, further education required, more detailed questions, 2 to 3 weeks decision timeline if you're lucky. More likely they're going to ghost you. Sales conversation, digital agency, right? You've reached out. They're actively interested in what you have to offer. You know that. You get on the call. 5 minutes discussing current tools. In fact, no. Before that, the 2 minutes of chit-chat, they're talking about AI automation adoption. They're talking about what they've already done, how this is a problem for them, and they've seen that you can solve it with X. They're giving you upsells, like during the initial conversation. 5 minutes reviewing current tools, 10-minute comprehensive workflow overviews. You can showcase them some previous workflows and how it might work. Maybe you've mapped out a workflow for them before the call, not connected, but just map one out to showcase them, depending on what you're selling. 30 minutes on implementation specifics, 15-minute discussion on ROI benchmarks, and a decision is either reached on the sales call, or they want to have half an hour themselves to chat it through to make sure. Because the one thing about this is I like closing. When I close somebody on the same call, it gives me a lot of satisfaction. I've done a really good job of selling. The caveat to that is that they haven't actually thought it through. You've just sold them very well. And sometimes that can lead to the negative client aspect. They start to question the costings after they have signed, which is what you don't want. So I'm just chucking that in there as a caveat. This is a good thing 99% of the time. But occasionally, someone can jump in head first without understanding the actual money that they've got to pay. When the setup fee's paid, when the retainer's paid, they start to then they sort of creep into becoming the smaller business. Very rare in large businesses. But my sales process is normally that call followed by a closing call the following day. That's the way that I do it, because I don't want to onboard anybody who's not. It's no good onboarding people who aren't convinced, and if they get a chance to sleep on it, some people will tell you you've let the lead get away. Well, you haven't. You've just controlled your client base. Trust me. We're not selling cars in a showroom. We're selling services that you want to try and work with them for 10 years, right? So there's a big difference between the two. The financial reality, right? This is our small business owner, local business owners. They don't understand value. They do not understand the value of this. Right? They just see what they get. They see their margins. They see what they've got. They look at what you come in. They're like, "Oh my God, he's trying to charge me 5k." Like that's what they do. That's the issue. Local enterprises generally operate with considerably slimmer profit margins compared to larger corporations. Brick and mortar businesses, they contend with significant fixed overheads. They have rent, utilities, staff, stock. That digital operations typically avoid those things. That's why services are better. An average local business might generate 10 to 15k monthly in total income, but they only positively net cash flow 7.5. So when you go to them and that's at a good margin, really, I think, like from my understanding of local businesses and friends and even owning some, like when you look at that, a 50% margin is a good uptake. I own a caravan site. I have the electricity bills. I have the reports from the biodiversity people that I have to pay for every year. Like I have these things that come through. Margins of 50% are good unless you're selling, like me selling holiday homes, for example. But I firsthand know the issues of having a brick and mortar business. And the thing is that although, because my caravan park is it's not large, it's a relatively small park, but because the revenue is really high, like this doesn't ring true for me technically. But you can understand from a coffee shop perspective how if they only gross profit 7.5k a month, how you trying to sell them, a coffee shop's probably a bad idea, a HVAC company that only profits 7.5k a month or only profits 15k a month, let's say, like you going to them with a 3k a month service with a 5k setup fee or a 3k setup fee, they're going to bulk it, aren't they? They're going to be worried about it. Like they're going to be instantly like, wow, they're going to do what this guy's doing in this picture. Like, can you believe what Michael's just told me? He's going to charge me for this. Like, it's ridiculous. They'll go if they are not grey already, they'll go grey overnight. For many digital businesses, they earn 100k a month. They're in 7 figures. That same 5k service represents like literally, if they're doing 50k a month, it's like it's like 3% of their margin, 3 to 6% of their revenue. So if you then factor that into their margin, it's 6% of their profit margin. But so you can see already why it's different. They look at it differently. It's 6%. It's a significant investment, but it's not one that they have to. It's not like they're tied in for forever and a day and going to be stuck in a position of a cycle where they've agreed something that they shouldn't have. Digital businesses, by their nature, they usually have established systems for managing payments for various services and subscriptions. They are used to paying people like yourself, right? They have people like me managing their Google Ads campaigns, for example. The ratio of customer acquisition cost to lifetime value is frequently unfavorable with local businesses, often due to premature contract terminations. That's why you focus on the digital element. I think that we've covered that pretty much in detail, right? When it comes down to the elevated operational flow, reduces the small company's profitability considerably. The cost responsivenesses of that individual business become major, and it's unsustainable as a financial flow for that business long term. They can't maintain it. It's not possible. It doesn't exist. Like it just doesn't. They're not going to be able to generate the growth. The client pool that they can go after doesn't warrant the increase in revenue that they might generate. If you're lucky, you might wash your face, which means, you know, like you might pay for yourself, and that's not what businesses want. They want growth. So, you know, this is it. So, you know, limited service allocation, discounting expectations. Here is a really good example that I want to run you through. So, local HVAC business does 45k a month, right? Monthly income. 8k for premise and utilities, 15k for gear and components, 18k for employee salaries, 4k left for other costs. Your $2,000 AI solution is half of the remaining funds. Maybe a little bit drastic, because an owner of an HVAC company doing 45k a month is probably not taking home 4k per month, but double it, it's just 25%. Yeah? You see what I mean? You double it again, you're 12.5%. You're still a considerable investment. So, and you can't have the impacts as previously discussed. Whereas if we look at like this recruiting firm, and I did the numbers for it, recruiting firm, 142k a month. They have 56k for personnel expenses, 15k for software and systems. They have allocated 13k a month marketing spend, and they still have 56,000 available for available expansion and services. So, who's gonna sign you when you finish? This is you. Hi, you. This is also you. Hi, you. You've spoken to these two businesses. Who is going to sign with you? This business. Who is going to be the best business to work with? This business. Who is going to be the business that stays with you the longest and has less churn? This business. So you can very clearly see why working with larger firms with larger scopes of expansion is exactly where your focus area should be. You need to stop focusing on local businesses, selling them an AI agent that can control their calendar and all this shit. Like, it's nonsense, seriously. Like, just forget about it. Solve real world problems, speed to lead, anything in data management that's a problem for them. Whatever can improve and save man hours for the business. If their accounting system's a mess, that's a big one. Churn risk detection, that's another big one. Focus on the areas of the business that you can generate the most impact, but stop going after small businesses to try and sell it to them, because trust me, they are not going to buy. My name's Michael Elliott. I've experienced this numerous times. You can take my word for it. You should trust me by now. Like, subscribe, comment. It's worth more than you know. I'll catch you in the next one.